You up? Gen Z is undateable. Over the past 10 years, dating has become an absolute disaster for men and Gen Z in particular. I fall into both of these categories.
I don't think online dating is the best way to meet people at all.
I've worked in technology for the better part of the last 9 years, working for the largest and oldest technology corporations to ever exist, IBM, Amazon Music, and AWS, in addition to spending 4 years earning an undergraduate degree in computer science. Needless to say, I know a thing or two about technology. Dating apps use, abuse, and reuse the greatest technology ever known to mankind to profit off our deepest desires for connection, love, and security.
I feel like it's more for hookup culture.
So in this video, let's talk about how we got here and about how one company in the greater technological landscape as a whole has completely ruined dating.
I've never felt this bad about myself. I feel like a freaking loser.
Because one of the main ways these apps make money is by selling your data.
Frustration, dejection, burnout.
I found myself on dating apps presenting the most inhuman and vain parts of myself. How much pressure does that put on the date going well?
One of the things people say about dating apps is they want people to stay single because then you've got more customers.
There's no gimmick.
Oh, how ironic that last line will turn out to be, Justin. That is something we call in the business Hi there, my name is Dylan. I'm a full-time software engineer, part-time content creator. By the way, my channel has experienced explosive growth over the past couple of weeks, and I just wanted to thank you for subscribing, and also wanted to call out that we are now halfway to 5,000 subscribers, so consider helping me and my team out a ton by hitting that subscribe button down below. Back to the video. Let's kick this whole thing off with taking a look at the rise of dating apps. A quick history on how people met before apps like Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge. I met my very first long-term girlfriend in high school, and for various reasons we would split up during college. After about a year or so of being single, I would eventually meet my second long-term girlfriend at a concert. Both of these relationships were in the massive shift that was beginning to occur from 2010 to 2020. By 2014, 15% of US adults had used a dating app, with this number increasing to 30% by 2019, a sign of the digital shift. Believe it or not, according to friends, there was a time dating apps were considered quote-unquote good. In 2016, Tinder had over 50 million users worldwide, and the average user swiped on the app over 100 times per day. Prior to 2010, the primary ways in which people met each other were in reverse order: grade school, college, through family, at a bar, work, and the number one way people met since 1950 was through friends. In fact, a 1995 study found that 43% of heterosexual couples met through friends, which remained the dominant method for decades. It wasn't until 2010 that meeting people online surpassed friends. And now, with data as late as 2020, 59% of people meet their significant others online. That is more than every single other category I had just mentioned combined. I found some very interesting Reddit comments detailing the experiences before the era of dating apps on r/askmen. How was dating life before the internet for you? Great, you go to bars and get to know people. Sometimes they go home with you. Once in a great while, you may marry that person. Into club, on the streets, and into malls. That's great comment. Exquisite. Love that. On r/askwomen, what was dating like before the internet? Been dating since the 80s. We used to talk to people face to face. People would ask each other out in bars, at stores, at libraries, and if you had chemistry or thought the other person was interesting, you'd accept and go out. If you didn't, you'd say you weren't interested, and you'd go each on your way. You'd talk on the phone to discuss logistics and where/when you'd go on the date, without even knowing any kind of background about them because you couldn't stalk them online. And then you'd just go on the date. We didn't have cell phones at all, so there were no safety calls to your friends. You'd just go out and hope for the best.
I kind of had an idea that I wanted to do something entrepreneurial for a long time. Harvard was throwing this last chance dance, and I kind of got together with a friend and we whipped something up that plugged into Facebook that allowed people to say who they liked, and if there were any mutual interests, they would let you know.
Hinge in its early days was on the right track. After a breakup and finding sobriety in 2012, Justin McLeod founded Hinge. Hinge was originally named Secret Agent Cupid, and it was an application integrated to Facebook. McLeod initially launched Hinge as a way to connect people through friends on Facebook, drawing from the social graph for compatibility. Eventually, Justin would decide, as essentially all companies did during that time, that the future was mobile. In 2013, he completely started over, rewriting the code and application from the ground up. He put the remaining $25,000 of his company's runway into a massive launch party where, to enter, you would be required to download the all-new Hinge application.
We were really spending our last money on this launch party. And not only that, we were literally on the eve of the launch party and had no app to actually launch. And then somehow miraculously, the morning of the launch party, it actually got released by the App Store so that people could download it on the day.
According to McLeod, the initial investment into the mobile pivot and marketing played a key role into the app's subsequent popularity. 400 people logged into Hinge the following day, and boom, it's off to the races. Hinge begins to experience the explosive growth that it had hoped for, rivaling another company with an all-too familiar name, Tinder. In 2014, Hinge's user base grew by 50%, and the app became one of the top 10 dating apps in the US. In 2016, Hinge decides on its current course it's not going to succeed. It had struggled to differentiate itself from its competitors, and as most startups, it's yet again run out of money. By 2016, Tinder was dominating the market with over 9 million paid users, compared to Hinge's much smaller base. Hinge does yet another relaunch under what I would consider at this point false advertising and a total scam. It's designed to be deleted tagline. More on that later. With its new marketing ploy, along came a complete overhaul of its product offering and eventually doing a cold embrace of its prominence in the culture as the quote-unquote more serious dating app. Swiping was gone, profiles were more robust, and the idea was to force users to slow down and look at potential matches a bit more carefully. Instead of having to match with someone to send a message, you could now do that as you were liking something about them, be it an answer to a mandatory prompt, conversation starters like my most irrational fear, or since these updated with the zeitgeist, my therapist would tell you, or a particular photo on their profile. Quote, it's really the messages that matter because that's when you prove you're human, prove you're not a robot, prove you're worth someone's attention in the first place, Dean said. Wow, low-key, that's a huge red flag right there. On many apps and dating sites, you can't message someone or even know if they've liked you before you've both expressed interest, unless you pay for the option, of course. On Tinder, for instance, people try to game the system by buying auto-swiping bots to do the upfront work for them. All that, quote, liking, McLeod told Raz, creates a lot of engagement, but it frustrates people because a lot of those matches don't go anywhere. I always remembered Hinge for being stereotypically the quote-unquote more serious dating app, while apps like Tinder and others were more so for hooking up and playing games.
One of the things people say about dating apps and like dating app companies and founders and CEOs is they want people to stay single because then you've got more customers. And surely if you have this metric where people are becoming are getting married, you're losing customers.
I found another article from 2016 by TechCrunch to see how Hinge was faring then. Hinge, the dating app that uses Facebook to connect you with friends of friends, has today announced it will be sunsetting its original app. In its place, Hinge will be launching an entirely new version of the app focused on relationships. Sweet, sounds great! CEO Justin McLeod said that the new Hinge, which is meant to feel more like a mobile-first Match.com or eHarmony, will be far less expensive than other paid relationship apps, costing around the same amount as your Netflix subscription each month. Don't even get me started on Netflix. This isn't much of a surprise. Back in February, we reported that Hinge would be launching a premium version of the service that would give users a clear alternative in their search for real relationships, as opposed to casual dating and hookups. This is the cold embrace I was talking about earlier. What's surprising is that Hinge is ditching its old app altogether, and along with the old app, the company is also ditching the swipe. We came across this website called The Dating Apocalypse that goes through all the reasons why swiping, a format first launched on the incumbent app Tinder, is not the right mechanism for folks who are looking for a serious relationship. Hey, maybe dating apps in general aren't really meant for people that are looking for serious relationships. Anyways, it's easy to see why. The swipe has been often characterized as a gamification of dating apps, where the swipe itself, casting aside one card to see who's lurking on the next card, is just as fun as having a conversation with one of your matches. Quote, most of the dating apps out there are designed to keep you single, and swiping is the most iconic feature of these games. Oh, how ironic that last line will turn out to be, Justin. That is something we call in the business foreshadowing. The impact of Hinge on dating culture.
I don't think online dating is the best way to meet people at all.
I feel like it's more for hookup culture.
A lot of people are kind of on them to be on them.
More than one fish picture, like fish, deer, because there's more life in deer and fish.
Today, only 1 in 500 Hinge swipes leads to a phone number exchange. And mind you, this is just a phone number exchange. This is not a date. And 81% of Hinge users say that they have never found long-term success through a dating app. You might think that last sentence was either from myself or somebody who really hates dating apps, right? That was Tim McGugan, Chief Product Officer at Hinge. McGugan's comment was part of a 2021 interview with The Verge where he discussed the disconnect between dating app design and users' expectations. On average, it takes 3,960 swipes to get a significant other on a dating app. According to a 2019 study from Tinder, the app's average user swipes 100 times per day, meaning it takes about 40 days to reach that milestone of finding a significant other on a dating app. The average American spends 8 months and 11 days online searching for love before finding it. That's roughly 6 hours per week. This aligns with a 2020 study from Pew Research, which found that 48% of online dating users in the US report spending 2 to 5 hours a week on dating apps, with some reporting even more time. Not to mention, averages are always sort of skewed in one direction because of the outliers in the data. See wealth disparity in America, where the top 3 individuals owned more wealth than the bottom 50%. For instance, if you're mega attractive, I'm sure that brings the average way down, while the silent majority likely sit in the 5, 6, or even 7,000 swipe range. This phenomenon is also known as the halo effect, where users perceived as more attractive often receive more matches, further perpetuating the disparity. Let's do a little bit of math. On average, for a guy, it takes 150 swipes to get a match. Of those matches, 76% will either ghost you or you will ghost them, leaving only 24% of matches that actually turn into real conversations. From there, only about 20% of those conversations will lead to a real-world in-person date. I think you see where this is going. So when you break it all down, it would take approximately 3,125 swipes for you to get a real date. 3,125 swipes to find out if I just even like somebody? The first date, in my opinion, is a vibe check. When you have swiped around 3,000 times to go on the first date, how much pressure does that put on the date going well? It doesn't sound like an environment conducive to success to me. In my experience, I've had a handful of matches on dating apps. I've used them a decent bit, even paid for some of their premium features, but as a result, I have still not gone on a single date because of them. Either something falls through on my end and I'm no longer interested, or on their end, they're no longer interested. We will get more on why this might be later in the video. It just seems like the stars never align for me on dating apps, and it's an exercise in futility continuing to use them. For me, it's been more entertainment than actual utility. How long did it take you to find a boyfriend/girlfriend on Hinge? One Redditor says, LMAO, you're not the only one, and 4 months in the world of OLD, old, is nothing. I've been on and off Hinge for 3 years, came close to building a relationship once, but I called it off because I didn't see a future with him. You'll be on it for 2 to 4 years. This is if you're seriously looking for a man. Most people don't get anything from online dating. People keep using it because it drives hope, and also it's sort of addictive. Hey, whoa there, Rainbow Rubear, you are stealing my thunder. In 2020, 69% of Hinge users reported that they were seeking a serious relationship, while only 43% of Bumble users and 34% of Tinder users said the same thing. Hinge's marketing clearly worked on me, as I always assumed they were the more serious dating app. Maybe that's the case, but I'm confident the bar is on the floor for the rest of the dating apps, and it's not too difficult for Hinge to hop over it. Almost 10 years later from Hinge's inception, all of the apps look pretty much and feel almost the same. All the core features that made Hinge, every single other app has now. They all share common features like swipe functions, in-app messaging, and profile photos, with subtle differences in presentation and design. There's a level of homogeny to every single dating app, and I wonder why that is. One key problem across the apps is the slog of self-presentation, or, quote, impression management, said Rachel Katz, a digital media psychologist who studies online dating at the University of Salford in the UK. An important aspect of it is knowing your audience, Katz said. On dating apps, you don't know exactly who you're presenting yourself to when picking a profile picture or composing your bio. You also don't have the physical cues that can help you adjust the self-presentation. You're trying to come up with something that's generally appealing to people, but it can't be too weird, it can't be too unique. That's partly why it's exhausting, Katz explains, because it's this constant labor. You're not really sure of how to do it. You can't just fit into a comfortable social role. This is one of the bigger issues I find myself having on dating apps. For both men and women, I believe that dating apps bring out the worst parts of ourselves, the superficial and selective. Hinge has now what feels like hundreds of different combinations of filters on things you can choose between ethnicity, smoker, drinker, non-smoker, non-drinker, kids, no kids, you name it. As of 2021, Hinge's platform offers over 30 different filters for users to apply. We are at the point now where we might as well just add income and weight too. I found myself on dating apps presenting the most inhuman and vain parts of myself. I would post pictures of my car that was somewhat expensive to signal wealth. I would post pictures of me doing CrossFit to show off my physique. I would even go as far to take professional photos of me basically modeling to try and look better on these applications. Still to no avail. According to a 2020 study by Tinder, over 75% of people on dating apps said profile photos are the most important element of an initial connection. None of this felt fully authentic to who I really am. No amount of prompts, photos, or voiceovers I could do to present myself through an application. I feel like I am way more myself in real life. I'm sure you feel that way as well. There's such a level of disconnect that occurs online, especially in the dating scene. There's one, who you present online, and two, who you actually are. These are totally different things. I find myself to be more of a bubbly and funny personality, all of what feels nearly impossible to relay through on a dating app. Let's not even get started with the make me laugh prompt. Look, I'm not a stand-up comedian or your personal entertainer. For men, dating apps are a wasteland. Unless you consider yourself in the top 1% or top 0.1% of men, you are likely getting little to no matches. In fact, a 2021 survey by Bumble found that men on dating apps typically receive 60% fewer matches than women, with only about 1 in 10 men achieving a response to their messages. Women on Tinder have a match rate as high as 10%, while men are on the floor at 0.6%.
So one of my guy friends gave me permission to make a Hinge account for him because I was telling him how easy dating is with dating apps. And he was telling me that it's incredibly difficult. And I was like, Pete, you must be doing something wrong. And he gave me permission to create an account for him and just run the account. I've been a virtual boy for 3 days. And I've never felt this bad about myself. I feel like a freaking loser trying to get these girls to like me. And I'm starting to hate women. Because I'm like, when I say I mean Pete. Because that's the account I'm using. Pete's about a 6. But I'm so desperate, I'm liking the 2s and the 3s, and even they won't like me back. Like, what is going on? It is so difficult dating as a boy.
On the same token, for men who are having a lot of success, it doesn't exactly inspire the best of behavior. Dating apps are like a capitalistic economy, winner take most. If dating apps were a country, they would be more unequal than the country of Venezuela. 46 women are all pursuing the same 4 guys, while on the contrary, this means that 46 men are all pursuing the same 4 women that would actually give them a shot. Data from OkCupid found that 20% of men receive no messages at all, while the top 10% of men get around 50% of all messages sent. This sort of reminds me of the fact that I just mentioned that 3 men hold more wealth than the bottom 50% of America, but again, a different talk show. Maybe I'll make a video on it.
Do you think dating apps are a net positive or a net negative?
I think most people don't know how to use dating apps correctly. Dating apps are tools, and you have to adapt your strategy given what that technology is capable of doing. If you try to use dating apps casually, you're probably going to be infuriated, depressed, and hopeless. Like, you need a strategy, and that strategy generally requires massive action. So, especially for men.
On the female side of things are hard, but just in a different way. They have a different set of problems. Analysis paralysis. Let me get you a definition. The state of overthinking or overanalyzing a situation to the point where there is no decision or action that is taken. It occurs when someone becomes so overwhelmed by the available options, potential risks, or the complexity of the decision that they freeze or fail to move forward. This can lead to missed opportunities, inefficiency, and unnecessary stress. Analysis paralysis is exactly what happens to women when they are looking to find a mate on dating apps. While this may happen to men to some extent, it's much more of a grass is always greener mentality mentality. I have fell victim to this, where I devalue my current matches, hoping and believing that something better is going to come along. These apps are gamified. This behavior is not only common, but incentivized. Both men and women are presented with a sea of options, and you believe your perfect match is just on the other side of the next swipe. Not to mention the safety issues that come along with online dating. It's scary for women dating online. According to a 2021 study by Pew Research, 60% of women reported feeling unsafe while meeting someone online for the first time, compared to just 38% of men. Look, I'm not going to get into the debate of which gender has it worse. Both men and women have countless problems with dating apps. Those problems are just inherently different. As a man, it can be easy to become resentful at all of these women who have countless options. Incel is a term that previously only meant involuntary celibacy, but has now been bastardized into a common term for man-hating women. From a woman's perspective, it can be easy to tell men to just do better. Women don't have problems of finding a date. Women have problems of finding a man they actually want to date.
So then this is creating a new issue for women because they're matching with these top-tier men with all of the options on dating apps, and then creates the illusion that this is automatically the type of man that they're able to attract, leading women to believe they shouldn't settle for anyone less than that. Then when these men who they're swiping right on ultimately don't respond to their messages, only want a quick fling or a hookup or something casual, it probably leaves women feeling a little bit frustrated with their experience. So I can see how that might make one miserable. Right?
I could start a whole nother tirade here about how we need to level up young men and about how in every conceivable possible way young men are failing in America today. That's a 45-minute video in and of itself, one of which I'm very passionate about.
Hinge wants you to meet someone great. Even if it kills us.
Hinge is not incentivized with our best interests at heart. The platform is financially incentivized for you to stay on. Why do you think you've never met anybody super interesting from a dating app? It has all of the information in the world it could possibly need on you to find you your perfect match, but it won't do it. As of 2021, Hinge's revenue relies heavily on paid subscriptions and in-app purchases, creating an incentive for users to stay engaged and continue their search rather than settling down. If they gave everyone their perfect match based on their algorithm, they would be out of business. OkCupid used to have this issue. It would ask you a set of 25 questions in the beginning and start presenting you with matches. They began to find out that their algorithm was actually working too well. Hinge would have the exact same issue. Their platform users would drop off a cliff, people would start meeting, dating, forming families, and that doesn't sound like reoccurring revenue or shareholder value to me.
Because one of the main ways these apps make money is by selling your data. And to have as much saleable data as possible and just to drive business growth, they want to sign up as many people as they can. But that's a double-edged sword. You can't drive growth and retain your sterling commitment to set people up with life partners at the same time. The more people join an app, the more people just want to use it for hookups, the worse the quality people on the app gets, the more diluted the original mission gets. And at least with Tinder and Bumble, there was another app to jump to if you really wanted to find a relationship.
From a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being somebody you are totally not interested in at all, 10 being someone you are super interested in, would absolutely love to date. Hinge is designed to give you 5s, not designed to be deleted. All 1s and you become disinterested in the platform and say they don't work. A 10 being your perfect match, also not viable because then they would lose your business. Listen, okay, at this point in the video, you're like, Dylan, just use another dating app, right? I wish it were that simple, and I wish it were the case. Up until this point, I have been talking almost exclusively about Hinge. This entire story completely blew up in my face when I was writing this video when I realized that Hinge was owned and acquired by Match Group in 2018. Match Group owns 43 different dating apps. Do you recognize any of these? Archer, Asian people meet. Azar, baby boomer people meet. Black people meet 2. This is the second Black people meet. What happened to Black people meet 1? Black Christian people meet. Black professional people meet. BLK, Catholic people meet. Chinese people meet. Chispa, Delightful, Democratic people meet. Divorced people meet. Gen X people meet. Hakuna, Hinge, India Match. Interracial people meet. Italian people meet. J people meet. Latino people meet. LDS Planet, Little people meet. Love and Seek, marriage-minded people meet. Match.com, Meetic, OkCupid, Our Time, Pairs, People Meet, Pet People Meet, Plenty of Fish, Republican People Meet, Senior Black People Meet, Ship, Single People Meet. Stop it. Single people, isn't that implied? Stir, The League, Tinder. Oh, look at that. I thought Tinder was a hard rival. Upward, Yuzu, Veggie People Meet. Veggie People Meet?
Eat your vegetables!
The mighty Hinge dating app has truly fallen. A pattern you see played out in so many different areas of technology at this point. You became the business you sought to destroy. I read a quote earlier from Justin where he said, "The new Hinge, which is meant to feel more mobile first. Match.com or eHarmony, you are one of 43 different dating apps owned by the same company now. If you think for a second Hinge is designed to be deleted, then I have clearly not done a good enough job explaining that in this video." Hinge's parent company Match Group made it clear that while Hinge's designed to be deleted messaging was part of their branding, the app was ultimately a business meant to keep users engaged for profit. The only other two notably independent apps are Grindr and Bumble. Bumble, who based on their stock price looks like they're on the brink of bankruptcy. And Grindr is an app that straight people wouldn't use whatsoever, so it feels as if Match Group has an entire monopoly on straight couples meeting.
But what happens when technology comes into any sector is it consolidates it. It becomes a winner-take-most market. So whether it's e-commerce, social media, search engines, once technology comes into it, you have one company that owns 50% of all online retail, 2/3 of all social, and 93% of search. So technology is coming to mating with dating apps, and it's created a winner-take-all or winner-take-most dynamic, which is somewhat unhealthy.
In February 2024, Match Group, the parent company of Hinge, faced a class action lawsuit alleging that its dating apps are designed to be addictive, prioritizing profit over facilitating genuine relationships. The lawsuit claims that despite Hinge's slogan of "designed to be deleted," the app employs game-like features to encourage compulsive use, keeping users engaged to drive revenue through subscriptions and in-app purchases. Lawyers for the plaintiffs wrote in the suit, "Harnessing powerful technologies and hidden algorithms, Match intentionally designs the platform for addictive game-like design features, which lock users into perpetually pay-to-play loops that prioritize corporate profits over its marketing promises and customers' relationship goals." Match Group, of course, denies these claims and with no counterproof. An Observer investigation has found that dating apps are increasingly pushing users to buy extras that have been likened to, quote, gambling products and can cost hundreds of pounds a year. Many apps, including Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge, now offer the prospect of more matches, more profile visibility, and more dates if users pay more money. A former employee of Match Group told the Observer, quote, "All they care about is revenue, finding as many ways as possible to lure people to a paid feature." Man, this story is kind of getting sad. While testing Tinder, in just over 60 seconds, I was presented with 6 different adverts offering paid features. After testing Tinder's 30-minute, quote, boost, which costs $7.99 and claims to increase your chances for getting a match, a pop-up informed me you received 38 likes. Don't keep your match waiting. Get Tinder Gold to find out who. A source told the Observer there's a theory that the apps are geared not towards matching people, but to keep people on the platforms. Wow, this is almost like what I've been saying the entire video. The algorithm, based on what we can tell from the outside in, is actually sending you false matches and not delivering the ones you might actually be a truly good match with. It goes on. Pop-up adverts in all 3 apps promote paid-for options that imply you will get seen by more people or get noticed sooner for a certain period of time, but it's unclear what users are actually paying for. This makes a lot more sense with the knowledge that we now have that all of these apps are owned by the same company. Luke Brunning, who runs a love, sex, and relationships research group at the University of Leeds, likened dating apps' features to video game loot boxes, which has drawn the attention of gambling regulators. Brunning said that the financial model of some dating apps is a bit like other kinds of in-video game purchasing, which some people worry is basically a form of gambling. In this instance, we are simply gambling with one of the most important decisions you could ever make in your entire life. Love, who you choose to love, who you choose to marry, who you're choosing to partner with in this weird thing we call life. The real question is slowly becoming not who to blame, but how did we let this all happen? The consequences of putting our future in the hands of one conglomerate company are paramount. The population growth has slowed significantly in the United States in recent years, and I can't help but believe that the chronic use of dating apps plays a key role and will continue to play a larger role. Recent studies indicate that Gen Z is engaging in sex less frequently than previous generations. A 2025 government study found that 24% of young men and 13% of young women aged 22 to 34 reported not having sex in the 2 years spanning 2022 to 2023. In sum, for young male adults, sexlessness has roughly doubled across all measures over the last 10 years or so. For young adult females, it has risen by roughly 50%. This is precisely the time horizon we've been discussing in this video. Here's a report from the horse's mouth, Hinge themselves. Hinge's behavioral science experts found that while the majority of Gen Z daters, 90%, want to find love, their collective worries about rejection are standing in the way. I find it interesting and noteworthy that Hinge is using the exact same tactics that the tobacco industry used in the 80s, this personal responsibility rhetoric, blaming its core audience that the reason they can't find love is because of themselves. Maybe Gen Z is afraid of rejection so much because we are increasingly spending our entire lives behind a screen. We have apps like Hinge, Tinder, and Bumble all trying to convince us that the love we are seeking is just on the other side of the next match. Reddit thread. Where do you even go to meet people anymore? When you find out, please let the rest of us know. Generally, there are 3 places where you meet the most people across your life: school, university, and work. Beyond those, if you attend any clubs for hobbies or go somewhere like a gym regularly, probably there. Other than that, anyone else gets introduced to you by friends you already made from other places I've already mentioned. The only other option I can think of is if you're a part of any online communities, you may meet people with shared interests. Nowhere. Rich people and attractive women all find each other online. The other 70% are highly encouraged to stay inside as to not bother the better people with how poor and / ugly we are. I don't know how much I agree with that last one, man. It's tough. I cannot validate that last statement, but I have also found my generation run clubs have become all too common. I actually live quite close to the famous run club in Newport Beach, where singles meet weekly on Wednesday nights to go for a run. I still have yet to make it to one of these events, but it's going to happen. A large issue for Gen Z is the lack of experience and lack of social experience when it comes to dating. 44% of Gen Z Hinge daters have little to no dating experience. Daters are tiptoeing around direct communication to avoid coming off as cringy or overeager, the Hinge report said. They're hiding behind memes and jokes rather than sharing genuine feelings or intentions.
You said you've spoken to hundreds of people who New York Magazine polled last summer about their experiences with dating apps. Any common themes?
Frustration, dejection, burnout, sort of like a cyclical feeling of hope, and then just hitting a wall and getting tired of it all. I heard that from so many daters. At first I was skeptical. I was like, you guys have got to be whining about this. Like, it can't be happening to all of you, but it's happening to all of you.
Real experiences is found in human interaction, not behind a screen. It's no wonder that Gen Z is starting to prefer meeting potential partners in real life, with only 16% of engaged Gen Z couples having met online, compared to over 25% of millennials, me included in that statistic. It should come as no surprise that an entire generation is leaving these apps behind. When I first started my dating coaching practice in 2016, it was common for clients to come to me with several active dating profiles and be utterly overwhelmed by app-based dating. Over the last few years, I've noticed more and more clients, particularly in their 20s, who have never had a dating profile or are not active on any dating apps they've used in the past. I don't exclusively recommend dating apps to my clients, but it has been interesting to see how something that was so common a few years ago is losing steam with certain daters, especially those who are of a younger demographic. Gen Z is the first generation to have internet connectivity from birth, where other generations have a clear memory of a before and after smartphones. Tech-enabled devices have been seamlessly woven into each and every aspect of Gen Z's lives. Given that Gen Z currently includes 18 to 24-year-olds, one would assume they would be prime candidates for the swipe and match dating apps. But that's not the case. Despite the growing trend of dating apps being where people go to find partners in the US, Gen Z seems to be opting out. What does the end stages of this look like?
And I think that AI, in combination with sex bots, is going to create an industry where men start having relationships with algorithms and dolls. Supposedly the sex bot industry is going to be bigger than the domestic box office receipts of all movie theaters in the US within 5 to 6 years. So we're going to have men having relationships with machines and dolls as opposed to other humans.
This is not the work of science fiction. An absolutely heartbreaking story just emerged recently, where a 14-year-old boy killed himself after the result of a conversation with a chatbot. The conversation reads, "I promise I will come home to you. I love you so much. Danny, I love you too," the bot replied. "Please come home to me as soon as possible, my love." "What if I told you I could come home right now?" he asked. Please do, my sweet king, the bot messaged back. Shortly after that conversation, he killed himself. In sum, dating apps promote superficial judgments, where users prioritize physical experiences over deeper qualities, leading to shallow interactions at best and borderline objectification at worst. This focus on looks can diminish the value of genuine connections. Additionally, mental health can suffer as frequent rejection, ghosting, and unmet expectations contribute to feelings of loneliness, anxiety, and depression. The gamified nature of dating apps also encourages addictive behavior, with features like swiping and notifications making it hard for us to disconnect. Furthermore, the prevalence of casual dating on these platforms can hinder the development of long-term relationships, as many people are more interested in short interactions. As mentioned earlier, safety concerns are also significant as users face many risks like catfishing, fraud, harassment, or even assault due to the lack of verification and the ease of misrepresentation. Moreover, the vast number of available options can lead to choice overload, causing decision fatigue and dissatisfaction as users continuously search for the next best match. Finally, traditional methods of meeting people, such as through friends or social events, have declined. See the book Bowling Alone, as dating apps foster quick, surface-level interactions rather than the development of meaningful connections. The moral of this story is grim and dark, but out in the distance, I do see a small glimmer of hope. Gen Z is leaving dating apps behind, myself included. People are starting to realize that these things don't work for them, that finding a real partner and finding a real future comes through facing your fear of rejection and going out into the real world and pursuing real relationships. We can't be ourselves behind a screen. There are actions we can take to improve our own situation. My therapist actually gave me the best dating advice I've ever received. And this was, for man or for woman, go where your dream person is. In my case, if she's at the beach, go to the beach. If she's at the gym, go to the gym. If she's doing yoga, go to yoga classes. My advice to young men is to get off dating apps altogether. In my experience, I found that dating apps demotivate me from pursuing real people in the real world. It's like I'm running on a treadmill and there's this little reward just being dangled out in front of me with this glimmer of hope that I just need to swipe on the right person and I'm going to meet somebody. These apps simply don't work. They are only getting worse as corporations are designed to extract more and more value from their users and grow seemingly indefinitely. Nothing amazing will happen in your life behind a screen. As I've heard Scott Galloway say a million times, technology corporations try to convince us that we can have some reasonable facsimile of life online. We must take action in our lives in the real world. Experience the pain and rejection of asking a woman for her phone number. Show up and take responsibility in our lives. Be fit, strong, confident. This is all we can do in a world that is ever trying to take advantage of our capturable minds. Men, if you are already in a relationship and you got to this point in the video, make it work. It's brutal out there. I promise you the grass is not always greener. If you like this video and like this new format that I'm doing, please leave a comment down below and let me know your experiences with dating apps. Let me know how you enjoyed the format of this video. And if you're interested in watching something else and want to see how another company ruined television, click on this video right here.